The world is changing. It's 2015 and the way we develop software, travel, learn or even shop has changed since 1920. And 1920 is the year when the term feedback was developed from words feed and back. Feed comes from the Old English meaning basically to help grow. My name is Piotr and currently I work at Ocado Technology where, as was said, I do whatever needs to be done to build great places to work, collaborate and learn. You can find me on Twitter and please share your thoughts there. Let's start with seeing what Patrick Leszczyński can tell us about building high-performing teams in terms of feedback. By the way, who of you read his book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team? Okay, so a homework for the rest of you. It's a great stuff. And before we get deeper then, I have another set of questions. Who of you received feedback over last week? Last month? Okay, so let's turn it around. Who of you gave feedback to another human being last week? That's good. Last month? Okay, we still have some work to do. Let's go to the Leszczyński content. Trust. Trust is inevitably connected with vulnerability. So yes, we will find ourselves in situations that will be uncomfortable for us, that may require honesty and openness to go through them. Fear of conflict, and it was a mind blower for me. Conflicts are good, conflicts are desirable. Through conflicts, we grow. But what we need to do is to learn how to dialogue in conflicts, how not to hurt each other while disagreeing. And let's jump to number 4, avoidance of accountability. And this is the tricky bit. I've seen it in so many teams where people were getting with each other on so well that it was hardly impossible to hold one another accountable. Your peer, your product owner, your manager. Oh, I cannot tell the product owner that those user stories would have been much more easier to implement if he had only provided those acceptance criteria that we agreed on. Because he's such a nice guy and we are getting on well with each other so well, and you know, I don't want to offend him. Anyone been there? Thank you. So yes, it will require becoming vulnerable to one another if we want to grow through conflicts, if we want to work in a culture of trust. And this is trust, by the way, because this is a mother and a daughter. I'm not sure what to say about the vulnerability, but they are definitely open to conflicts. So let's dig deeper into the vulnerability. There is this John Wayne Schools of Masculinity. Ah, you bloody bastards, you cannot be upset or frustrated or sad. And this is to us, men. Anyone heard being a child that boys don't cry? I heard it. And it would have been much easier for me to be empathetic, to express emotions if I haven't been taught and told that it's hard and that it's unwelcome. This month I heard from one of my colleagues that feelings are unprofessional and that on managers' positions they may be perceived as weakness. Woohoo! Call me the weak and unprofessional then. I'm dedicating 8 hours a day to my work and I want to be connected to what I do and engaged, and I simply cannot do it leaving my emotions at the door. And yes, it will mean becoming vulnerable. But we are talking about building great teams here. Let's get even more personal. Who of you has someone to love? Okay. How often do you reassure your loved ones that you love them? Let's make it clear, I'm not asking you to go to your teams and tell your teammates you love them, unless you do. But ask yourself a question. How often do I find myself in a situation that I feel joy, respect, or gratefulness because of something someone next to me did? And how often do I use the opportunity to tell them about it? I feel alienated when I do not receive feedback. And so do our peers. And even our managers. We owe it to each other. Imagine a situation where you are having a team offsite, a whole day activity, where part of the time is dedicated to encouraging feedback sharing session, where one of the persons sits on a chair and is being told what others value in her, how she contributes to their well-being, to their happiness, to the cohesion of the team. After such a session, the confidence and motivation in each particular person and in the whole team just goes through the roof. Give it a try. But when we are talking about feedback, it's not always the positive one. There is also this constructive one. And when I think about the constructive feedback, the technique that comes to mind is sandwich. Anyone heard of it? I hate it, it's a fallacy, and I wanted to deeply apologize to anyone who suffered from going through this with me, because I did use it. I won't torture you with explaining how it works, but let's treat it as this, a sandwich, a burger. What can happen to a burger? Well, you can forget to put ketchup in it, so the roll is here and the beef is here. It's kind of disconnected. Or you can get a veggie one, so there is no beef, but something pretending to be beef. Or you can have this exceptional experience eating at McDonald's. Everyone has been there. We all know how it tastes. It tastes the same all around the world, yet we just got used to it. We do not care anymore. We can do better. So first thing I would like to encourage you to do while thinking about giving and receiving feedback is do not assume. Because when you assume, you are making an ass out of you and me. Seek understanding. Go see, ask why, show respect. And if you do not understand, repeat. Go see, ask why, show respect. And listen. There should be a lot of listening when we are talking about giving and receiving feedback. Be mindful not only about what you are going to say, but how you are going to do it. Content is only as important as the delivery when we are talking about sharing feedback. In Judaism, people believe that by naming things, you create them. And let's learn from it. Our words have great power. I can create the other person. And I can destroy them. It's up to me. And I learned it the hard way. I'm a father of 2 lovely children, and I experienced through a lot of tears that whenever I criticize, all that is being heard is criticism. And whenever I yell, all that is being heard is yelling. The message is gone. We can do better. From this place, I would like to introduce Dr. Marshall Rosenberg and his concept of nonviolent communication. The heart of nonviolent communication is provide us with language, thinking, communication, and means of influence that helps us in connecting with ourselves and with others in a way that supports compassionate giving. It's about developing literacy and consciousness of needs, and needs were mentioned many times today. And it's also about learning how to express those needs to others in a way that they do not hear any criticism. It's almost like learning a new language. This method helps us in making observations without evaluation. So I do not judge. I just describe what I've seen. And this probably causes some emotions and feelings. And I need to relearn how to recognize them, how to name them, and how to express them. And as Dr. Marshall Rosenberg points out, our emotions cause needs. They are reasons of an unmet need. So it's not only me saying, oh, I feel upset or frustrated or angry, but it's what's there, deep inside me happening, that makes me feel what I'm feeling right now. And last but not least, NVC also teaches us to lose our strategies of having those needs met. So I do not demand, but rather request, ask the other person to adjust their behavior. But they can say no. So if they really want to contribute to help me having my needs met, it's because they want. Let's go for an example. Imagine Tom reading Catherine's code, and imagine him yelling a lot of WTFs and criticizing not only the code but also the coder. So if you want to express yourself in a non-violent way, the message could go like that. Tom, when I observe you reading Catherine's code and saying phrases like she's stupid, she's incompetent, how can one code like that, I feel upset and frustrated because I have a need for respect and for collaboration. Would you mind going to Catherine and talking with her about the code she wrote? But this is just the one side of the situation. I can easily imagine you want to focus on Tom and his feelings and his needs more than on yours. So the conversation could go like that. Tom, when you read Catherine's code, you seem upset or frustrated, is it right? Because you never can be sure what other person feels, you can only guess. No, I feel angry! Okay, so when you read Catherine's code, you feel angry. Is it because your need for craftsmanship is not being met? No, it's because I've been sitting with her whole day explaining how those services should work. And I told her that we can pair on this task. Okay. So when you read Catherine's code, you feel angry because your need for understanding and collaboration is not being met? Right. Is there anything that could have helped you here? This is just an example. But in this example, you can see that you already got much more information. And because of naming those feelings and those needs, Tom's anger has probably already been relieved. He is much more likely to go and collaborate with Catherine. And this is because NVC helps us to focus on what's alive in us and in others right now. So let's wrap it up. Feedback, sharing, giving, receiving feedback is essential when we are talking about building high-performing teams that work in culture of trust and accountability. Conflicts are good. We can grow through them, but we need to learn how to non-violently communicate. And yes, this will require being vulnerable to one another. True understanding comes from freeing ourselves from judgment. Go see, ask why, show respect. And mindfulness of needs can be acquired through being fully present right now, through focusing on what's alive in me and in the other person. We can improve our communication by sharing more feedback and by learning how to do it. We will get it wrong, but it's not about being perfect. It's about being progressively less stupid. There is a place between right and wrong, and I will meet you there. Thank you.